it's Nikki from Hallows Spirit Pursuers. Today we have come to the Hidden History street tour under Castle Meadow in Norwich, part of the shoebox experience. We have come here to do an investigation. Lots of history to this place, so we actually, when we were setting up, we started to pick up on some skeletal figures on the SLS. So stuff is happening already and we're not fully set up. We have Bob, guest investigator, and Dan. So for now, catch you later.
So welcome to the shoebox. Some of you might remember this as an old shoe shop called Pond's. Pond's actually started here in 1861 in the building next door, but we're now standing in the next door building which Mr. Pond bought to extend into in 1888. So what we're standing in now, well, it's not the top floor of the building anymore, and it's not the top floor of the building that we're now about to go into. To make sense of that, let's drop down another level. People that live in Norwich, a lot of people don't actually know this is here. This was a very well kept secret by Mr. Pond. So we're going to go down a steep narrow set of stairs, and what we've dropped into now was originally the top level of this house. And what you're standing in is a house now that goes back to the late 1400s. It's just one room deep, and today we can only get access to one half of the building, because we've got one half of the building in our building and the retail unit have got the other half of the building next door. So if you can imagine a room twice this size as one big room, you've got an idea of what it looked like. So we know that this was a weaver's house because what we can see at the front of the building here is an original weaver's window. This window is a long, thin, narrow designed window because it was designed to let lots of natural daylight into the top rooms of the houses to allow our weavers to work by. The wool and the weaving trade in Norwich was massive, you know, really from as early as the time of the Romans, particularly in the mid-1500s and right up until the Industrial Revolution. And so weavers would use the top levels of their family homes as their workshops. They wouldn't be hiring factories elsewhere. They would work in the top levels of their houses. And that's because the top levels of their houses was the lightest, brightest and airiest part of the house in which to work. So this would have been the workshop space for a family of weavers. But you know, the looms that they use, various different designs, would have been huge and taking up quite a lot of space in this little room. This window would have looked out over the dry defensive ditch that surrounded our Norman castle. This building you're standing in now was the first building that ever got built in the castle ditch. I'm going to take you downstairs to the lowest level where you'll be standing in the castle ditch, and I'll show you the second one that got built. Okay, so now we're on the other side of the weaver's window. So if we look back up at the upper level, we can actually see the original weaver's window from the other side. You know, little did you know when you were standing up there, you'd now be standing in the castle ditch and the street that people used to walk through before Castle Meadow got built. Castle Meadow in Norwich is actually quite a modern street. Didn't start getting built until 1810. But this is the street where people walked through before that. And the street that you're standing in now is called Castle Ditches. You know, rather inventively named, but it's been built smack bang in the centre of the castle ditch. So what we can see in front of us is the front of the weaver's cottage. And if you look at the lower level now, you can see their living accommodation. This was the sleeping, living, eating accommodation for the whole family. So you can see that the downstairs would have been much darker and dingier than the upstairs. That weaver's window was a south-facing window, so it let in lots of natural daylight and would have lit that room beautifully. And that was really important because back in those days, our weavers would have only been working by natural daylight because their only choice of man-made light was tallow candles. So if we move around the street, what we've got next door to it is the building where Mr. Pond originally started his building in 1861, and it appears to have this archway in the wall, which is said to be a secret tunnel that leads to the castle. But you probably can see a bit of a problem with that. The direction is facing away from the castle, not towards the castle. So we don't actually have a secret tunnel going to the castle here, but what we do have is an undercroft. And you know, if you haven't heard of the word undercroft, think of it as a vaulted space beneath the main room of an old house. You know, if you look in here now, it's got this brick barrel vaulted arch shape which does resemble a tunnel. And it's got lots of rubble at our feet as well. Now we know that that rubble is just years of rubble that's been built up. So it goes down about 1.5 metres. So it's a good sizable space. These were built by rich, wealthy merchants, designed to store whatever goods they were trading in. So, you know, I like to kid myself and think it might have once been full of wine and cheese. Of course, it's going to be woolen cloth, isn't it? Now, the bottom of that undercroft is well beneath street level. So not only is it good for storage, it's really good for preservation of their goods as well. So in Norwich today, we've got more undercrofts than any other place in the UK, with about 80 still existing, and about 80 that we've lost. Now, if we look above our head, we can actually see a structure. This was once totally open to the sky, and in the early 1500s, this street got built over. The weaver's cottage literally decided to extend. They built across the street and attached onto the buildings next door, at which point the natural daylight becomes blocked out. So we've got quite a lot of interesting features apart from the buildings down here, and one of them is a lovely piece of graffiti on the wall that says BG 1739. Now we don't know who BG was, but we're pretty sure that is a date of 1739. And we've got some more modern graffiti on a window frame up here. This is in chalk, and it dates back to the 1950s. We've got a 1950 March the 9th, a 4452, one up here that says A. Johnson 1975. So I'm guessing they were probably just bored workers who worked in ponds who used this space down here as their machine room and their storeroom. So we've got this more modern wall at the end. This was put in just before 1950 when ponds finished their extension works. They decided to cut through the house, dividing it in two, and sell off the other half of it. So this half got sold off in 1950, and at that point there was no building above our head. This didn't get built until 1960. And before we head off down the rest of the medieval street, just have a quick look on the other side, and you'll see behind a hatch we've got another, is it a tunnel to the castle? Because now this one's facing the right direction, but we believe that this is part of Castle Meadow construction, because these tunnels go all the way around Castle Meadow. So when Castle Meadow was built, it was built a little bit like a railway viaduct on these arches, which are incredibly strong, and it's holding up an awful lot of weight. So let's carry on down the rest of the street. The street is now narrowing, it's taking twists and turns, it's getting dark. We've stepped into a little covered yard now. Again, it's once totally open to the sky, but now we turn this corner and we're going to head into an open air yard, a yard that never got built over. So that gives you a really good chance now to look up and see how the elevations of the buildings changed and how these buildings would have gone from 2-storey little houses to the 4 stories that we've got here today. And so when we now head down here, look how the walls change. Look how we leave medieval wall behind. Then we head down this Victorian alleyway, which you can see is very dark. And it also turns a corner as well, so you can't see where the end of it is. And we walk right to the end, where you see you've gone back to medieval wall again. And then, if you literally head behind this modern gate, this takes you back out onto London Street. So the street itself takes like a U shape, and Castle Ditches wasn't one big long continuous street that went round, but a series of lots of little U-shaped alleyways. And this is the only one you can walk through today that still survives.
So, everyone, we are at the Hidden History Street Tour in Norwich on the Castle Meadow. We are getting everything set up and in place, so I'll just give you a quick run through of where we have put our equipment. So, we've now come down into the lower level. Let's just have a quick look. So, down here, you probably cannot see quite yet, but here, there you go. Motion activated, so if anything attempts to go through into that area, it will trigger the motion activation. So, there's Bob. Hi Bob.
Hello.
We've got Dan with a static camera and the laser grid on the SLS. We have a REM pod in this area just here. We all know what a REM pod does. If anything goes near it, it goes off. We also have the Seismo which runs off vibration just in the entrance to this area here. So I'll just give you a quick demo. I'm walking next to it, there you go. We've also got a motion ball on the bed. There you go, I've tapped the bed and the ball goes off. And the seismo is just in the doorway. We also have some other pieces of equipment. Dan's got his temperature gauge just down on the floor. Here's Dan, hello. We've got another REM pod just over here. We also have the TAD, which, as you know, detects fluctuations in temperature. So it's probably hard for you to see in here. I'm just going to flick on night vision again. There you go. There it is, that's the TAD. So it will go blue if the temperature goes cold, it will go red if the temperature goes warm. We also have another motion cat ball just on the floor. There you go, there it is on the floor down there. So we've got various pieces of equipment placed round. One more thing to show you that we have placed just through this area down here. Didn't want to place too much equipment down here because we are getting quite a bit of noise pollution in this area, because up those steps there, that leads directly to Castle Meadow. So we've only got one piece of equipment out here, and it is motion activated wildlife camera basically. I'll just turn night vision on just so you can see it's on the table there. Okay, so that sums up all of the equipment that we've had put in place for now. We will now go lights out. As you can hear, the buses on Castle Meadow up there. We'll now go lights out, and hopefully we'll get some really interesting stuff. So catch you later.
We've got something in the archway. So yeah, we're picking up something there. And obviously everybody else has come out of the shop now, and it's still...
That's the only thing that's there.
It's moving. Or can you give us a big wave? I'll wave to you.
Looks like he's making something.
Oh, he's moved.
It's like a little production line.
Yeah.
That is, there's like arms going backwards and forwards.
He's doing something there, isn't he?
That's really interesting.
He's coming out.
It's coming out.
Hello.
So it's about here, yeah?
Is it this bit of wood here?
Yeah, I think it's sort
Where
of
the tap is?
Yeah, facing.
Here.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Can I shake hands?
Yeah. Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
I think yes.
Yeah. If I can make the lights move. Can you make any of the lights move? Theory behind this is with the laser lights, if something moves in front of it, you see the lights move, so that is one of the theories. It's almost like they're doing something with that tap there.
Yeah.
I am getting some weird heat on here. Weird heat on here.
Oh yeah?
Yep. Right on that wall there, there's a hot patch. There's a heat signature. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
That's bizarre. Bit lower, mate.
Lower.
Lower, 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 lower.
There.
There, where your fist is.
There. Mm. Yeah.
Is the finger still there?
Yeah.
So I work down here all day, every day. Have you been down here when I've been down here before? Oh, okay. That just completely turned around and moved arms
I
out
saw
there.
that, yeah.
So let's try that again then. So I work down here all day, every day. Have you been down here when I've been down here? Will you give me a wave if that's a yes? What about another colleague? It may not have been me. What about another colleague who's been down here? Have you been down there with them? Wave if yes. Okay, so would it have been a tour guide Holly? Wave if yes. What about Max? Does that mean anything? Oh, still in here. Francis? Have you been down here with me?
It's like a repetitive movement, like
Yeah.
someone's on sitting at a lark, standing at a lark.
I do feel it's like someone trying to make something.
Yeah.
If you were someone that worked down here, can you give us a movement different from what you're doing now to tell us you work down here?
They turned in medieval London.
Oh, wow.
It's really well documented.
So our figure has now disappeared. It's completely gone.
There you go. And you can't say that that was something's causing that from
And
the
then
equipment,
suddenly,
the way
yeah.
it's been moved
Yeah.
and then it's stopped. That has been sat in the same position the
Yeah.
entire time, and now it's gone. See, it's picking up Bob.
Wow.
It's bang on 6 o'clock, maybe it was leaving off time.
Yeah.
Maybe he was. Maybe he was clocking out.
It's funny you should say that, because the man who came on my tour told me it was a 10-hour day and he started at 8 o'clock. That would make it 6 o'clock.
So we are moving into one of the small rooms, and I'm going to try not to fall in. You can hear the seismo is going off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my dictaphone out and switch it on, and we are going to see if we can communicate with anyone. And don't forget we've got the seismo on the floor which detects vibration, and a motion ball on the bed. If there's anybody here that would like to communicate with us, can you please come forward and speak into the device that's in my hand? It's got a little red flashing light on it. We'd really appreciate it if you could just come and communicate with us. It's died. The battery is dead on my dictaphone. Okay, that was just a slight glitch with the digital recorder, so it should be working again now. So we'll try again. If there's anybody here that would like to communicate with us, please come forward and speak into the device in my hand. It has a red flashing light on it. Can you tell us your name? Are you the figure that we saw standing in the archway, working? Were you making shoes? Bob?
No, but something just moved across in here. It didn't set any of the lights off, but it's up top there. I don't know if the camera's going to get up there, but there was something moved.
It was across rather than down,
Yeah.
was it? Just
So,
I've just thought it's quite.
Is Mr. Pond here? Mr. Pond, do you like us being in part of your shop and factory? Just for the viewer's purpose, this is the area where we captured the skeletal figure earlier, which looked like it was working machinery of some kind. I mean, obviously, when this was ponds, some of the shoemaking would have been done down in this area. Oddly enough, the figure disappeared at 6 o'clock, so was that clocking off time? Is there anybody that would like to communicate with us? We're happy to speak to you, use our energy. I can put the EM pump on, we really do not mind. We would just love to be able to communicate. Or are you linked to the Weaver's cottage?
can you stand next to Nikki? Can you stand in front of this camera?
Okay, we are running spirit box session down in the hidden street, so I'm going to get my dictaphone recording as well. If there's anybody here that would like to communicate with us, please come forward and use the white noise to speak to us. Can you tell us your name? Is Mr. Pond here? Mr. Pond, can you speak to us, please? Use our energy and come through on the white noise. Mr. Pond, are you here? We'd like to speak with you. I'd like to order some shoes, please. Can you make them for me? Is anybody here with us that would like to speak to us? Turn the EM pump on for you. Give you a bit of energy. I'll pop it on the floor. You want to use the energy from the EM pump to try and communicate with us through the white noise. We'd really appreciate it.
Come on, draw that energy, you can do it.
Can I come and work for you, Mr. Pond? Have you got any vacancies?
We've got a device going off. What's going off?
That's the plan.
That one. The REM pod is going off. Okay, we've got a REM pod going off in this area here, which is where we saw the figure earlier. I am just going to turn the EM pump off. EM pump is off and the REM pod is still going off. Can you talk to us through the spirit box or talk into the little red flashing light?
Can you make motion near that box and set that box off? Make the motion balls off. Can you make everything go off at once? That would be even better.
Can you tell us your name, please?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. It's on the dot. And that's going off again in that same area.
The temperature has actually gone up to 17.7 again. Exact same temperature as it was earlier when we saw the figure over there. It dropped by 1 degree. This time it's actually gone up by 0.4 of a degree, I think.
Can you make the lights flash even more for us? Can you get 2 lights flashing? Can you make it flash twice?
Tell her that you can make really good shoes. Really good shoes.
I can make really good shoes. Shoemaking is in my blood. All of my family members have worked in shoe factories. Oh, what's going up? It's going up.
It's in your blood, isn't it?
It's in my blood, yeah.
What do you think of trainers? Do you like trainers or do you prefer just proper leather shoes?
It's the same area again.
Yeah.
Look at that.
But the other devices through here, nothing yet.
Nothing on there. So who are you picking up? Someone that worked...
Well, we started asking questions about shoes and Bob said...
A lot of people have said they felt like the presence of a man looking over their shoulder, like he's taking care of business, and of course Mr. Pond was the one who started it here. He had a son called Herbert. Does Herbert mean anything? Herbert was very instrumental because Herbert actually finished all of this building, and
Oh wow.
the extension work that you see above your head was actually done by Herbert. But
Herbert, if you're here, can you make that flash some more for us? Get it up to third lights. 3 lights for us. Go on.
Can you do it?
Can you do it? Can you make it flash a little bit more? Another light? Or Mr. Pond?
Or the person who was there earlier? It's definitely around this area though.
It is this area, isn't it?
Because nothing's going on off there, nothing's going off in there. It's
No,
this area
it's there.
every time.
yeah.
Is there a reason why you're there? Can you make it go brighter if there is a reason why you're stood there?
What about the name Jonathan? Does that mean anything? I know his daughter was Laura.
Do you know Laura? Is she your relative?
case the
So
EMF is getting
why is
stronger.
that suddenly?
If there's anybody here, can you use the Alice box to communicate with us? The banks of words. It's making
No,
a
doing
word.
it.
Word.
Numbers.
Numbers.
We've been talking about the numbers above the door. We'll leave them.
Oh yeah, we've been talking about these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been talking about. We've been doing them a lot.
Well, talking about Mr. Pond taking care of business as well.
Yeah.
He's very interested in people doing spreadsheets,
Yeah.
looking over their shoulders.
Yeah.
Can you give us your name or give us an indication of who's here and making the REM pod go off? Can you do that for us? You've started to use the Alice box. That's maximum. That has gone maximum now. Thank you very much. Are you struggling to use Alice? Do you prefer just to use the REM pod? Really do appreciate it.
Whoever's here, can you give us a message on the Alice box, please, on the device? You can find the words and then send them through to us.
Is there more than one spirit here? Is there a worker? Are you the worker that's triggering the REM pod? And somebody else talking to us through Alice?
Oh, it's disappeared.
Stuck. I've never had that. Alice is physically stuck. To be honest with you, I've had issues with my dictaphone already down there.
That stopped working.
We do have people's cameras stop working down here,
Yeah,
They're drawing on the energy.
they are.
particularly when they're in that the dungeon building there. People's cameras will just not take photos.
And that was exactly where the dictaphone stopped working.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of interest as to what this area could have been used as.
Yeah.
You know, because what's running above our head here, this is 16th century, but that wall there is 1700s. So that has got to be passing and attaching onto an old building before this building was here. But what's it attaching onto? So, you know, where did that bit go to? Could that not just be a little alcove, but actually a doorway into another property or something like that?
Are you messing about with our equipment tonight? We don't mind. So they're now about to come through. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh, don't leave us.
Come back.
Please stay. Bind.
Bind? Something to do with shoes. Binding is a
Store.
shoe store. This was
Yeah,
the shoe
there
store.
we go. Away. Okay. Sometimes when this is going off constantly, it can sound a little bit like mumbo jumbo.
It's gone.
It's
Stopped.
gone.
It's gone away.
It said goodbye, didn't it?
Yeah,
Say goodbye, went away, it's gone. That's matching up. Everything is
Yeah.
matching up.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, the bind in the store, that sounds like it's very much to do with shoes, you know,
Yeah.
and this was where, and that motion we saw earlier looked like it was something quite repetitive with
Yeah.
hands, didn't it?
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, are we getting anything back?
Debbie.
Debbie.
Okay. Hello, Debbie. Is that you, Debbie, or
Are you Debbie
are
Pond?
you trying to communicate with a Debbie? There we go. Oliver. Hello, Oliver. Is Debbie or Oliver here? If you are, can you make the REM pod go off for us again?
Can you stand next to Nikki and tap her on the shoulder?
Debbie or Oliver, are you here still? Can you give us another sign that you are here?
And when Pod's closed down.
Yeah. So it closed down in 2013. Actually, it sort of went down a few hands, not many hands. So it started off with James in 1861. James died in 1906 and passed it on to Herbert, hence the name I was trying to get. Herbert died and then he passed it down to his daughter Laura. But Laura had absolutely no desire to run a shoe shop because she was a pharmacist. She didn't want to run a shoe shop, but the thing is she had a great general manager and a great secretary. And that was called Reginald Gascoigne and a lady called Bessie Bone, I believe, and they took over the shop. And he then passed it down to his son Peter and his wife Jane Gascoigne. And then shortly after they closed in 2004, it then got passed down to another company, but they kept the name. So, you know, Pond's has really only been passed down 5 times since 1861, so...
Breaker.
Breaker. Don't know what that means.
No, it's coming again though. His
Breaker is...
bed.
Yeah.
I'm getting another one coming
Yeah.
through.
Mama. Cousin.
Okay, we're getting.
Can you please try to be a bit more specific with your words? It'd be really helpful if you can give us an indication of who you are if you're here and you want to communicate with us.
Cart. So we've just had the word cattle as well. We are very close to the cattle market. Just being the other side of
Because
the
it used to be
castle.
next to the castle, didn't it?
Yeah, cattle
Yeah.
market originally was just the other side. No.
White.
But if cattle,
Basically, the ditch would have been used as a sewer. Okay,
Yeah.
so back in 1345, we got the ditch back. Our King Edward III, arrived in Norwich that year. Imagine what the ditch looked like, because at that point it's not defending the castle anymore.
Bride.
Okay. So the castle is already
Catch.
in a state of decay and disrepair. We use this as a sewer because we have no sewage systems, and so literally cattle carcasses would have been thrown into the ditch, as long as everything else.
and that's
So it seems like the shoe-related stuff has gone now, doesn't it? And we're getting more about like relatives and stuff.
And this particular area here, like you say, there could have been people passing through here,
Yeah.
begging, because the word beg came
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, and this was, one of the richest, but one of the poorest areas of the city as well. There's every possibility that whilst you've got these rich, wealthy merchants living over here and rich, wealthy weaving family, that in corners of streets,
Bill.
you would have people living in the corner of streets.
As the REM pod has stopped, shall I go near it and touch it? No,
dead.
it's dead.
They've killed it.
Yeah,
It's
it's dead.
actually dead.
Again, it's this area with
It's
equipment.
affecting equipment.
It crashed Alice twice. My dictaphone
crashed.
just wouldn't work properly and I had to reset it. So let's reset the REM pod now.
It doesn't.
I've just moved it to get more of that area, and I got a figure.
Is that,
Was it the
is
same
that-
figure
is
as
that-
before?
Yeah.
Just for the viewers' purpose, we've
And
moved the
there it
tad
is.
into the area where we're getting all the
Yeah.
activity in this little area here. So there's the tad, which will change when the temperature changes. It goes red when it gets warmer, blue when it gets colder.
It's doing that repetitive movement again.
Can you wave? Can you put your arm up in the air? Like I'm doing. Can you put your arm up? Right up. That's your leg.
What other names did we get?
Oh, yeah.
Did we get William?
Bill.
We got Bill, didn't we?
Yeah,
Which is
Bill,
short for
Bill.
William.
Debbie,
Debbie.
Oliver.
yeah, casket.
Casket. Would you have been carried through this street in a casket? Because this would have been the way that they would have transported prisoners from the Guildhall to the gallows on the other side of where Castle Meadow is. We would have had thousands of people being taken to be executed over there. Were you transported through the street in a casket?
Can you put your hand up in the air if you were?
Okay, yeah, it's like it's moved up.
Yeah, and they keep putting the leg down, so it's like they're stepping up.
Or put it's
Oh,
a machine.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of some of the names of the. You'd have like the clicker
Clicker, that's
was
it.
one of the processors, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Finisher. Trying to think of all of those terms to see if that meant anything to our figure there, as to what they might be doing.
Didn't they use braggles and things as well to sew the soles to the base of the shoe, or to make the holes for the sewing of the.
Going like that.
Braggle.
They're going like that.
Out.
Out.
Are you coming out of there now?
Mad. Are we making you mad? We're sorry if we are. We mean you no disrespect, family.
Are we watching you work? Yeah, they're moving their arm now. So they just moved to there and then went back again.
Yeah. I don't know where they were.
Average.
Average.
Yeah.
It's like somebody's doing some work. They keep moving their arms around and then going like that.
But
and
now it's a different action to what
Yeah.
it was before.
Yeah,
it seemed
they're
to go from
going
side
like
to
that.
Side, wasn't it?
they're
And
pulling
now
something
it's,
over, yeah.
Okay, I am going to place my EMF in there as well.
Yeah.
Pop it on the floor.
Oh, look.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you've upset them now.
Oh,
Sorry.
he's crouching.
They're crouched down.
They're
Sorry.
crouched down.
Did I disturb you? I'm
Yeah.
really sorry. I was just placing an EMF in there, so if you want to make it flash...
They've crouched right down, haven't they? Yeah. It's like they're hiding in the corner. You can stand back up again now.
Get back to
You're okay.
Work. Come on.
Go on, you can do it.
Flash
It's almost
for
like
me.
she got in the way and they jumped up onto her shoulder and then jumped down into the corner.
I actually do feel really weird at the minute. I feel like someone's kicked me in the ribs.
I think you might have got a kick.
I didn't mean to disturb you. Would you like to carry on with your job and get back to work? Can you make the EMF light up for me? More little flashy lights? You can make it go to yellow. I'd really appreciate it.
Oh, got the word?
Keep.
Keep. Castle keep. Strong connections with the castle here in the ditch.
Figure.
Can you make the ball light up? If you just make that slightly move, that'll flash.
Malevolent.
Oh no, I didn't know.
Beckon. Empty. Sullen.
Sullen.
Flower's dead.
Yep.
Oh, hang on. We could be standing up.
Oh, trying to, aren't they? Let's move back down again.
Blue, did that just say?
Can't see it.
Past.
First.
Is this where he is?
He's just in
Just
there.
on the other side.
Just on
yeah.
Yeah, it's just in there. Go in. Go in, see what happens, see if he
Oh,
moves.
oh, yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Yeah, he didn't like that.
Okay, just for the viewers' purpose, we placed the REM pod in what would have been Mr. Pond's office. Members of staff have felt as though they've been watched over their shoulder and hair, and we were just having a short break and the REM pod went off on its own. Again, not quite sure why. If it was detecting any electromagnetic field, it would still be going off now. So it's not picking up anything from that socket there. I mean, the closest item it could potentially is a fridge, which is there, but that's quite a distance away, as you can see. So I'm not entirely sure, but this REM pod was just going off of its own accord yet again. We have come through to the back alleyway from essentially what would have been the ditch, and this is the final part of our investigation. So we've come through to this area. We're going to be running dictaphone and Alice box. As it's a little bit noisy down here, shall we do this as a rolling motion, moving through? Okay. If there's anybody here that would like to communicate with us, please come forward and speak into the device with the red light flashing in my hand. Or please do use the words on Alice to communicate with us. Are you linked to Pond's shoe shop? We're going to carry on moving through. This is now the outer alleyway we're coming through to. And so far we've had no words on Alice. It's interesting because you can see that the original part of the wall has been plastered over. Oh, squeeze! Squeezing through the tube. Thank you very much for communicating with us. We're getting words coming through on Alice now. We've had squeeze and tube. Thank you very much for communicating with us. We do appreciate it. Final questions of our last bit of our investigation.
Did deliveries come in down these steps?
Is there anybody here that would like to say any final words to us before we leave this place? We'd really appreciate it if you can come through and speak with us. We've had lots of activity in the other section, in the ditch. Branches.
What does that say? Branches?
Yeah.
You see whatever it was that just flew over the top of that?
Void. Donald, is there anything you'd like to tell us? Purgatory.
Is that where you are, Donald?
Rope. Were you hung?
Are you hung from the castle, Donald?
Are you in purgatory, Donald?
Is there any other words you'd like to say to us, Donald, because we do have to leave soon? Okay, thank you very much for speaking with us, Donald. I'm now going to end the session on Alice Spot. Hi there, Nikki from Hallows Spirit Pursuers. We have just wrapped up our investigation on the hidden streets under Castle Meadow in Norwich. It's been a really interesting evening. We've learned so much about this place. We've had a really lot of activity. We've got a lot of footage to now review, not just on camera. We've got SLS. I've got the dictaphone to review. We were getting lots of really relevant words come through on Alice yet again. Alice, you know, never ceases to amaze me. We've had a lot of equipment failures as well, where they were just all going off. The REM pod was going off, it got up to the max, and then it just died. And literally I had to leave it switched off for about 10 minutes, and it reset itself and worked perfectly. So we've had lots of equipment failure. But Bob, how have you found it?
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, all sorts of weird and wonderful things happened, like you just said. If you get the chance to come and have a look around here, you can. There's a tour that the people do. It's great. Yeah, excellent.
Dan?
So much has happened in such a small area. Amazing. So yeah, definitely if you get a chance to come and visit, definitely would like to come back here again and do more. So yeah, thank you very much and catch you later.
Once again, he's nicked my catchphrase, and he always tries to do that, but no one can say it like I do. So for now, catch you later.
Catch you later.